Thank you, Mr. President. I thank my colleague. Mr. President, I wanted to speak about an amendment I have filed on this immigration bill that I've been working hard to get a vote on. It's certainly not my only amendment filed, but it's a top priority. And it's the Violence Against Women and Children Amendment, Amendment number 1330. And Mr. President, we've heard a lot of promises and a lot of rhetoric on this issue from many people, including the Gang of Eight. What I've found distressing as I've actually gotten to read the bill, and let's always remember one of the great lessons of Obamacare, read the bill, read it before we vote, is that the bill, the details, the exact language doesn't match a lot of that rhetoric. This is one glaring example of that. One of the earliest and most important promises by the Gang of Eight was that in this amnesty process, folks who were guilty of serious crimes would not be eligible. In fact, they'd be deported. That's why in the bipartisan framework for comprehensive immigration reform that the Gang of Eight released in January this year, they said this, quote, individuals with a criminal background or others who pose a threat to our national security will be ineligible for legal status and subject to deportation. Illegal immigrants who have committed serious crimes face immediate deportation, close quote. Well, we can all agree with that. Problem is the details, the text of the bill doesn't agree with that because it does not include several serious offenses, particularly against women and children. And so my amendment is simple. It is to beef up, to strengthen this part of the bill by including Violence Against Women Act offenses as crimes that would disqualify someone from being granted amnesty and which would trigger immediate deportation. Now, these are serious, violent crimes: sexual assault, stalking, domestic violence, sex trafficking, dating violence, child abuse and neglect, also elder abuse. So specifically, Violence Against Women Act offenses. These are serious, these are violent, these are against some of the most vulnerable in our society, and these clearly, in my opinion, should be disqualifiers. So that's what the amendment would do. Now, VAWA, which we debated and voted on a few months ago, has widespread bipartisan support. More than 200 national organizations, more than 500 state and local organizations expressed support for that bill. Great majority of us here voted for it. I voted for it. So we should certainly follow up with that, to that rhetoric and to that vote by making sure that these serious offenses in the Violence Against Women Act are disqualifiers to amnesty in the immigration bill. Now, Mr. President, this is not my only amendment, and this amendment not getting a vote so far is a frustration. It's a frustration of a lot of us with regard to a lot of amendments. This immigration debate is enormously important. This bill is enormously long, well over 1,000 pages, and so far we have had 10 roll call votes on amendments. 10, period. That's one amendment per, 120, 130 pages. That's ludicrous, Mr. President, and that's not the full, robust amendment process that we were promised for months and months and months by both the majority leader and the Gang of Eight. So I hope I can get a vote on this amendment, and I also want and expect a vote on my other filed amendments. I have many, but I've narrowed that list down. So with that, Mr. President, I would ask unanimous consent that my Violence Against Women and Children Amendment number 1330 be made pending and eligible for a vote.
Is there objection?
Mr. President.
Senator from Colorado.
I object.
Objection is heard.
Well, in closing, Mr. President, I find that very, very disheartening. This is a big subject. I agree with the proponents of the bill that this is a big problem that needs fixing, It's a big subject. It's been on the Senate floor for 3 weeks. It's well over 1,000 pages long, and we need more opportunity for serious debate and amendments than we've gotten. And as soon as a path to passage was identified late last week, as soon as that happened, the amendment process was basically shut down. It continues to be shut down today. This important amendment being denied a vote is an example of that. I find it very regrettable, and I yield the floor.